Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. The entrepreneur community in Colorado Springs has been nothing but kind to me since I've started working on my business. Like I said, my name is Ben Hogge. I'm the owner and operator of Recon Home Care, and we will be the industry leader in special needs in-home care, along with a variety of other services that'll be launched a little bit further down the road. But we are going to utilize highly qualified individuals, professionals in the area of special education to provide in-home care for some of the most vulnerable populations in the area, starting in the Colorado Springs area and then through the rest of the country. On top of utilizing highly qualified staff, we are going to use chest-mounted cameras to provide a level of accountability and transparency for parents so they can check in whenever they are out of the house and we're in their home. I was born and raised in Southern Maryland to a blue-collar family. My dad has a HVAC company, heating and air conditioning. I had the privilege of watching him work very hard throughout my childhood, and that's something that really left an impact on me. Watching the relationships he built with the community, other families, the lives he impacted, even though he didn't really intend to do that on the outset, but that really left a mark on me. And I've always had dreams of being a helper, doing something big. So when my dad was raising me, I would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays while all my friends were sleeping, and I would go crawl around dirty crawl spaces in attics and help install HVAC or heating units, furnaces, AC units, stuff like that. Inevitably, I would complain because I was 10 and I hated it, but my dad's response was always, work hard, go to school, get good grades, so you can have a job that isn't this. And I think at the time he wanted me to have options, but I also took away from that at 10 or 11 that anything that got you dirty or was hard work was not the goal. I later found that not to be so true. But I saw, so like in elementary school, I wanted to be a zookeeper, but all I could picture myself was shoveling animal poop all day, and I grew out of that. I'm sure they do more. Middle school, I wanted to be an FBI agent, but I didn't think I was smart enough. High school, I wanted to be a professional soccer player, but my genetics said no. I was in love with the movie Good Will Hunting in high school, so I said, I'm going to go get a degree in psychology. I'm going to help people that way. My first job out of college was working at a day program for adults, deaf adults with schizophrenia. The program was located in the windowless basement of the building we were in, so that was short-lived. My next job was working at a clubhouse for survivors of traumatic brain injuries. I did that job for about 2 years, and it was my first time I got to see the immediate stress that families are under when they're taking care of somebody who is dependent on them past the average age of dependency. I didn't know it, but later this would become my fuel for action. I worked at the clubhouse for 2 years, and then I moved to San Diego in search for a new experience. I was lucky enough to have a support system with old college roommates and friends that hooked me up with a place to live and a job. And this was the first time I heard of applied behavior analysis, which is what I do currently. It was exhausting. I worked 40+ hours a week direct with children on the autism spectrum with high magnitude behaviors. But I fell in love with it. 3 months later, I'm in a master's program. 3 years later, I'm a board certified behavior analyst with a master's in special education. I moved back to Northern Virginia to marry my now wife, and I work in that field for about the past 10 years. So the past 10 years, I would like to claim that I've made some big changes and helped families. I've helped children learn new communication system, reduce interfering behavior, learn completely new skill sets. But throughout this entire time, there was always more that could be done. Anytime I was in a house, I've seen parents get divorced, I've seen parents fight, I've seen parents argue over chores, appointments, traveling, transportation, all to support their child. And I was thinking, if I could just vacuum their floor or cook them dinner, that would alleviate some immediate stress, and they would be available for their child. They would be better for their family, they'd be better for their community. So that's what has led me here. That's what I was missing. That hard work, that focus, that immediate feedback. When my dad was showing me how to be a man, he didn't have a board of an ethical code holding him back because of dual relationships. He saw a problem and he fixed it. And that's what I'm aiming for. I'm ready to do the hard work to fix those problems that I see immediately. And that's why I started Recon Home Care. Thank you.
Start picking them.
So what exactly does Recon do?
Recon provides parents with peace of mind. It's essentially special needs babysitting. But they're not all babies, so I don't like calling it that. But we are going to use the technology available. It's in my car, but the chest strap with the camera mount, so parents can have a live stream in to see their kids whenever you're in the house, because that's one of special needs parents' biggest fears is my kid can't talk, they can't advocate for themselves, I'm never leaving them alone. And that's on the less impacted side. On the more impacted side, you have 18-year-olds who are highly aggressive, self-injurious, engage in interfering behavior that I've known parents who sleep in shifts because they can't trust their child to be without constant supervision. Imagine that, and then also imagine, tending to your marriage on top of that. Yes, sir.
Fascinating story. So thank you for it. I see you coming from the trades. Your dad, a tradesman.
Yes, sir.
So that's where the hard work part came in. Am I following that so far?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But when did you flip and you knew that there was this overwhelming drive in you to be able to help people on these spectrums? And what does Recon mean, and how does it relate to what you're doing?
So I guess your first question, I've always had a passion, or at least a passive interest in helping people who aren't able to help themselves. I'm an able-bodied person. If I can lift something for you, I'll lift it for you. If I can take you somewhere, I'll take you somewhere. I have a lot of resources at my disposal, and I like to be able to help people who can't necessarily help themselves. But the term recon, it seems a little overly militaristic, and I know, but it is just, I imagine parents doing reconnaissance on their own kid. So they're checking in through me to see how everything's going. I may have parents who look at the live stream for the entire time they're out because they've never been out, or I have parents who just check in and, okay, they're fine, and go about my date or whatever they're doing. But yeah, that is how Recon connects. Sir.
Now, are you going to be accepting insurance payments for this, or is it going to be worked out a billing deal with the family?
At least initially, it'll be all private pay, billing through the family. Yes, ma'am.
Are you the caregiver, or do you have a team that you work with as well?
It is currently me, and I'm working on building a team. I mentioned our ethical code, so since I am a behavior analyst, I am barred from providing any other outside services to clients I currently work with, so that's going to cause a patchwork of, I'm going to need this professional to work with this kid I know, and I want to work with that kid, because we can't really cross paths like that unless I am no longer working as a full-time behavior analyst, which is the goal. Yes, ma'am.
What does a typical service or day look like? I mean, obviously there's care and so forth. Do you also incorporate some activities or whatnot?
The main focus is to maintain safety while parents are out of the house. So the vision right now is parents need a date night. So I'll come in for 3 hours, maintain a level of safety, any additional services or requirements that would be worked out in that consultation period, because I'm imagining having clients who have higher rates of behavior, and they may have a formal behavior plan written out in place, and if I need to follow that, that's within my skill set to do it, but it is not like the initial goal. Yes, ma'am.
Will you eventually replace day programs that special needs individuals go to, or are you more looking at individual events like a date night out or a need to just get away?
Yeah, big picture, I would like to have something bigger, but right now I want to provide an immediate source of relief for parents who need to get out, even if it's for an hour. But yeah, when you ask about replacing day programs, those are typically more therapy oriented, and although that's within my skill set, it is not it's not my initial goal. Yes, sir.
So follow up on that question then is, who are the collaborative organizations that we can reach out to and say, this is a connection for Recon, here are the people that it makes sense for you to collaborate with in our community to move you forward and them as well?
That's a very interesting question. So off the top of my head, I would think of anybody who currently receives therapy, OT, PT, SLP, any families with children with special needs. My experience over the past 10 years is mostly with autism-related disorders. However, the service could be provided to anybody who, parents feel need an extra level of support when they're out of the house. I hope that answered your question.
Are there particular age groups? I know you're talking working with special needs children, but there's also special needs children, like you said, who are not typical. They're still at home past that 18, 21-year age mark. So what is your bandwidth for ages?
All of them. I have imagined also working with elderly as well, because they're in the same situation, living in homes with their now children, typically taking care of them. So yeah, all ages, anybody who needs it, as long as it's within my physical ability to do so, I will serve those clients. Do you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was curious if you're wanting to grow the service or you're trying to grow the technology. It seems like there's a lot of cross-application for the technology itself or multiple forms of therapy.
Yeah, that actually dawned on me most recently, was that my vision with the chest-mounted cameras is just for transparency and security purposes, but I may have the unintended consequence of introducing this technology into all therapy. And I don't know how I feel about that ethically, but I think for the base level of what I'm offering, I think it's very appropriate for parents to be able to check in, but I could see some ethical issues, including that in every therapy that's available. Sorry, but I think the answer to your original question was my focus is to grow the service. I was talking to one of my friends who is a developer yesterday and trying to plan out what it would look like to develop the technology, and it's not exactly where my brain works, so I might need some help with that. Yes, sir.
I think it's an amazing idea, man. With the technology, do you know if there's any other companies that have 100% live stream while they're taking care of the?
I know clinics will have security cameras not live stream to parents, but there's security. But no, I don't know of any companies that do 100% live stream available to caregivers. Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
So mine's two-part.
Yes.
Number one, how are you marketing what you're doing? And then how many are you currently serving?
I have not currently launched my company yet. I am going to use this, and I actually hired a videographer to record a promotional video, and that editing process is taking some time. So the second that's done, I'm immediately launching everything. My website is technically published, but that's only so I could see it from the other perspective, but I have not really shared it. So once that video is done, I will upload that and put it on my website, and then I'm going to do a social media blast. It's really my only marketing options I have right now.
And then how many are you serving right now? Is it
None.
0?
Yes.
So you haven't started?
No, ma'am.
Interesting.
Yes, ma'am.
So follow-up question to that, how are you going to find your clients other than posting on social media?
Word of mouth. You lovely people.
And some of us have some great networks for it
Yeah.
already.
Yes, ma'am.
And I have a follow-up question. So when I think of home care, I mean, that's everything from feeding to toileting, transfer, I mean, all kinds of stuff. What are the limitations within the care that you're going to provide? Because a date night, anything could go wrong in 4 hours with someone's special needs, you know, as far as depending on their level of, you know, care that they need. So what are you going to exclude outside of, okay, well, this is not going to be, you know, services I'll offer, that kind of stuff?
That's a good question. At this point, I am not QMAP certified, so I'm not qualified to deliver medication. This will all be hashed out in the consultation process, and I will be able to tell parents up front, like, I can't do this until I have this person on staff. So I look at hiring CNAs or people who are able to do feeding tubes or any other type of like augmented, can technically do like augmented communication devices, but like any type of hospital equipment that may be in parents' homes, I will need to hire somebody or have somebody come on and handle those cases for me. So in the most immediate terms, I am focusing on those clients that are within my skill set, which is rather broad, but yes, there are a lot of medical concerns in the special need community that I do not currently have the certifications or the background in. Yes, ma'am.
So how much is it going to cost for people? Because I know that home health care type services are pretty expensive. And how are those folks going to be able to afford it for payments if you're not having insurance be part of that yet?
Yeah, so I mean, to be very honest, it's not going to be for everybody to start. I'm raising money. I have a donation site on my website. I'm selling T-shirts to raise money for parents, and then everybody's going to get a free consultation, and then they're going to be, obviously, I can work with you now, and you're going to need to wait, and I'm going to have to identify a threshold for like income. So that says like, okay, you qualify for this money we have over here in this pot to go towards services for your families. Yes, ma'am.
Question for you. Since you're so new here, have you had an opportunity, as a company, have you had an opportunity to kind of flesh out your processes from your assessment and intake into what that's going to look like from a standard operating procedure or things of that nature? Or are you kind of just, you have this idea and you're ready to roll and you're really excited? And
Well,
would it be helpful to have that opportunity to flesh it out?
Yes, it would be helpful.
Okay.
I have done it in my head 1,000 times,
Yeah.
but I've also, the intake and assessment process is going to look very similar to what I currently do. Onboarding, doing behavioral assessment, and then making a clinical recommendation that parents either agree to or they don't, and then I can start services after that. But yes, I would love to talk it through in detail.
Is it regulatory stuff that's keeping you from being able to provide additional services, or is it your idea that you're stuck there? When you're talking about like being able to offer medication or other things, like clearly you have really awesome skills, and what you're doing, I have no doubt is needed. It's like, how do you?
It's mostly just right now, like you said, like regulatory things. So honestly, I don't even know if it's like legal regulatory things. I think it's ethical. So if a parent agrees, said, yeah, you can give him his medication at 10 o'clock, and they sign off that I can do that, sure. But it would be better for me if I was certified as a medication handler, deliverer, professional, QMAP certified. Yeah, QMAP trained. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Business question for you, and granted you're just getting ready to launch and the idea is there, and I can definitely see the need. Where do you see this in 2 years? How do you scale this so that you don't become so consumed by just providing a service that you can't take care of the rest of the business?
I plan on hiring other professionals in the immediate area to start with as independent contractors, and then I was telling Danielle this. My thought is like like Uber. Like I have this need, send out an email to all my people, say who can take it, and then schedule and confirm that way. And I'm hoping to be able to do that in less than 2 years, because I mean I have identified the need, and I have support people who've expressed a willingness to help me with this. But it's just getting that ball rolling. I think that'll all come pretty quickly, actually.
Since you haven't officially launched yet, but we have some people in mind who could use your services, are you ready to roll?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I just wanted it to look like a very formal, professional launch where I'm not like kind of filling in holes after I've done it. So this is the most patient I've been with anything in my entire life. So I'm really trying to, I was ready in January to launch this, but I'm trying not to put the cart before the horse this time. Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Let me go over here real quick.
Tange, what brought you to Colorado Springs from Northern Virginia?
My current job, working for the autism services company I work with right now. I'm an instructor for professional crisis management, which is a system of blocking and restraints pre, post, and during crisis interventions. So they needed somebody out here, so they were kind of like targeting me directly. Yes, sir. Sorry, can I go? Did you have one?
I did. I wanted to ask about the cameras. It seems like that could be an expensive technology to maintain. How do you plan on funding that? I mean, as far as operation costs, it seems like that could be a big chunk of overhead.
I have sourced materials, and it is just a cell phone with a streaming app on it. And I can get a Cricket phone for $50, and the strap is $17. So I feel like once I have enough capital built, I can start. I've sourced all the materials already, and this may be putting the cart before the horse again, but I've sourced all the materials and priced out what it's going to cost to hire every person, or one person is $173 right now to bring one person on, and then ship them what they need to get to work. Sir.
So let's go back to your thing about launching. Perfect launch, professional launch. I heard some things. A friend of mine says you can't steer a parked car. As an entrepreneur, if you were to launch today, what would it look like?
If I were to launch today, I would. If I were to launch today, I would need to make like one form, and then I'm good to go.
Do it.
Okay.
I like what are you waiting for, Ben?
Yeah.
Do it.
Honestly, I'm so stuck on the fact that I have a video that's not on my website, but that's just I'm procrastinating because I'm terrified. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hold on. That's awesome for you to say that. I think a lot of entrepreneurs get to this point where I just don't want to, and if I keep pushing it off, I keep pushing it off. So thank you for being vulnerable and sharing with that, because we've had experienced business owners on the stage. So to have somebody at the inception and right at that leaping off point is absolutely amazing, Ben. Thank you for being that.
I appreciate that. Yes,
So I'm going to follow up with one more question. What's your biggest fear of launching today? Your biggest fear?
Oh, yeah. Let's hear it.
Time management. Because I am still a full-time employee at my job.
Yep.
And if this is as big as I hope it can be, I'm gonna have a lot of tension between myself and my employers. You guys are the best. I love this.
Yeah, point would be what, Ben?
Right. Yeah.
We already took that lead. All of us have
Right.
taken
That's
that lead.
right.
Just jump.
I'm on this stage complaining about my employers. Good.
Sure, yeah, you get a lot of that from these people in the room. We think a lot alike.
Yeah.
Thanks, Larry.
Yeah. The only difference between launching your business today is one customer.
Yep.
True.
Just a comment, but I do believe if you try to get ready, you won't be.
Okay.
But if you flow through this with your first customer,
I got you.
they will create all the processes that you know, because you've been thinking about this for a million years.
True.
None of us can catch up in the room. You've been thinking about it for a long time. So we would all, as you've already heard it, urge you to go get your first customer.
Yes.
Yeah. And all you have to do is ask.
Love it.
All you have to do is ask and wait.
Okay.
And I think this community can help you do that.
You guys are awesome. I appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
So I have a comment to add that I thought of when he shared, which is basically think of the people that you're helping and how there's possibly somebody today that needs you today that, like you mentioned, maybe they're on the verge of divorce because they're frustrated, so just a thought.
No, that is some good motivation. Doesn't quell my fear, but it is some good motivation.
All right, we've got our last super special question.
What can we as a Colorado Springs business community do to help you and your Recon?
Tell your friends. Tell everybody you know, and then. You have my business card. Go to the website right now and share it with everybody here. ReconHomeCare.com. But yes, that is the only. I'm sorry?
What connections do you need?
Somebody who could get me introduced to the billing process if I were to go through like Medicaid or,
Okay.
And even find out what is applicable through the services this initial services. When I am able to offer applied behavior analysis through Recon, I will be doing that as well, and I'm already pretty familiar with that process. So.
What else?
Like we were talking about back there, if there's anybody who can help streamline, I would like to make a Recon app that does all the streaming services, where parents have their own accounts and they can come and they can check in and they can pay their bills and all that stuff. But I don't have any clue what that looks like.
That's okay, you just have to ask.
Yeah.
What's your one big ask? Dream big.
Dream big.
Where is this in 5 years?
Nationwide in
There you go.
every city.
There you go, awesome.
Cool.
You got this.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.